South Africa is known to produce some of the highest quality stone fruit available and exports to markets in the Middle East, Europe and the UK. Now though, a new market is opening up after South Africa signed a stone fruit trade protocol with China, unlocking one of the largest agricultural import markets in the world. Stone fruit such as apricots, peaches, nectarines, plums and prunes will now be exported to China, and the agreement will be quite beneficial for the country's agricultural sector.
Are producing very high quality stone fruit in South Africa, and therefore we also seek export destinations. And because China is such a good trading partner with South Africa, we are extremely excited and grateful that we could manage to sign the protocol, as this will create jobs in South Africa.
South Africa just scored a massive win with China, but the United States is left on the sidelines. After tariffs hammered American exporters, China swooped in to secure millions of dollars worth of South African stone fruits. Who really wins when trade wars backfire? Could this deal signal a major shift in global economic power? Stay tuned, because the consequences of this one agreement could ripple across continents, reshape alliances, and leave the United States scrambling for lost opportunities.
In a stunning turn of events on the global trade stage, South Africa has secured a landmark deal with China to export its stone fruits, a move that could reshape the balance of trade power and leave the United States scrambling. This is not just a routine trade agreement. It is a dramatic illustration of how tariffs imposed by the United States president have inadvertently handed one of the world's largest markets to a strategic rival. The stakes are high, the players are powerful, and the consequences are already rippling across continents. South Africa's stone fruit industry, encompassing peaches, plums, nectarines, and apricots, has long been a cornerstone of its agricultural economy. Every year, thousands of tons of these fruits flow from orchards to markets around the world, supporting local farmers, distributors, and regional employment. The new agreement with China significantly expands this reach, promising to send a substantial portion of South Africa's stone fruit harvest into Chinese markets. For a nation seeking to diversify its trade and strengthen its economy, this is a monumental win. China stands to gain immensely from this arrangement. The nation's growing appetite for high-quality, fresh fruits is well documented, and South Africa's produce meets these standards perfectly. By opening its doors to South African stone fruits, China not only secures a consistent supply of premium produce, but also strengthens its bargaining position in global trade. This deal offers China a reliable alternative to other suppliers, particularly from regions that have been impacted by trade tensions with the United States. Strategically, it is a clever move. While the world watches trade wars unfold, China quietly positions itself as the dominant importer, gaining leverage and market control. For South Africa, the benefits are immediate and tangible. Farmers gain access to a lucrative market hungry for fresh, high-quality fruits, promising higher revenue and more predictable sales. The deal also enhances South Africa's global trade profile, signaling to the world that the nation is a serious player in agricultural exports. Beyond economics, there is a subtle but significant diplomatic victory. Strengthened trade ties with China open doors for broader cooperation in investment, technology transfer, and infrastructure support. In a global economy increasingly defined by alliances and strategic partnerships, South Africa has placed itself firmly in the winning column. The ramifications for the United States are stark and undeniable. When the United States president imposed tariffs on imports from China, the goal was to protect domestic industries and assert dominance in global trade. Instead, these tariffs have backfired. American stone fruit exporters, who might have filled the Chinese market, find themselves sidelined. What was meant as leverage has become a liability, handing China an opportunity to strengthen its trade relationships with other nations. The United States, long accustomed to being the primary trade partner for many markets, now watches as a key opportunity slips through its fingers. The political and economic consequences could be profound, as American producers face lost revenue, and trade policymakers grapple with the fallout. Beyond the immediate economic implications, this deal underscores a shifting geopolitical landscape. The world is no longer a stage where the United States dictates terms unilaterally. Nations like South Africa are seizing opportunities to diversify their partners and reduce reliance on a single superpower. China, meanwhile, demonstrates that strategic patience and consistent trade engagement can yield significant advantages. As tariffs and trade wars continue to shape global markets, the balance of power is subtly tilting. Nations that can act decisively, cultivate alternative markets, and anticipate the missteps of others stand to gain. Consider the stark contrast. One nation leveraging policy to strengthen its position inadvertently alienates potential markets, while another quietly builds influence and secures resources. South Africa, with its fertile lands and robust agricultural expertise, now finds itself at the center of a trade story that reaches far beyond its borders. The deal with China is more than fruit. It is a statement about strategic foresight, economic independence, and the opportunities that emerge when global giants stumble. For the Chinese market, this agreement is a clear victory. Fresh, high-quality stone fruits are in demand, and the arrangement ensures a steady, reliable flow. It also provides China with greater flexibility in negotiating other trade agreements, both regionally and globally. By deepening ties with South Africa, China not only strengthens its economic footprint in Africa, but also signals to the world that it can fill gaps left by the United States' own trade policies. In practical terms, this is a subtle yet powerful reordering of influence, with long-term implications for global trade networks. South Africa's triumph is equally dramatic. The country now has a broader platform to showcase its agricultural excellence, attract foreign investment, and develop a more resilient export economy. Farmers and distributors can anticipate stronger revenue streams, and the national economy benefits from increased foreign exchange and trade diversification. Moreover, this deal exemplifies the strategic power of acting decisively. While the United States president engaged in high-stakes tariff battles, South Africa quietly forged a mutually beneficial agreement with a willing partner, turning global tensions into a local victory. Meanwhile, the United States is left grappling with the consequences of its own trade strategies. Stone fruit exporters who had long relied on expanding access to growing markets now face limited options. The tariffs, intended to assert dominance, have inadvertently created winners abroad while creating losers at home. This is the paradox of protectionism. In attempting to shield domestic industries, policy missteps can open doors for competitors, shift allegiances, and alter long-established trade patterns. For policymakers and industry leaders in the United States, the implications are a stark warning that every tariff carries both intended and unintended consequences. Viewed through a global lens, this deal is emblematic of broader economic and political shifts. Africa's role in global trade is growing, as nations like South Africa leverage natural resources, strategic positioning, and market expertise to engage with emerging powers like China. The United States, once the unquestioned pivot point for global trade, is increasingly challenged by nimble, strategic actors who exploit gaps in American policy. The interplay of tariffs, market access, and diplomatic engagement illustrates a new era in which influence is earned through agility, foresight, and mutually beneficial agreements rather than unilateral pressure. The narrative of winners and losers could not be clearer. China gains access to premium produce and strengthens its strategic market influence. South Africa gains economic growth, expanded market reach, and enhanced diplomatic leverage. The United States, caught in the web of its own protectionist policies, faces lost opportunities and mounting questions about the effectiveness of tariffs in a competitive, interconnected global economy. The stage is set for a reassessment of trade strategy as the consequences of policy decisions ripple across continents and industries. Beyond economics, the deal carries profound symbolic weight. It demonstrates the shifting agency of nations outside the traditional power centers. South Africa's ability to negotiate favorable terms with China signals a maturation in trade diplomacy and a growing confidence in its global position. For China, the agreement reinforces its role as a decisive and strategic global partner. For the United States, the lesson is sobering. Dominance cannot be assumed, and the costs of miscalculation are both immediate and far-reaching. The consequences extend into the political sphere as well. Domestic producers in the United States may pressure policymakers for remedial action, while trade experts warn of a longer-term erosion of influence if opportunities continue to be ceded. The South Africa-China stone fruit deal, while seemingly focused on a single commodity, symbolizes a broader trend. Nations willing to engage, innovate, and negotiate aggressively can leverage global tensions to their advantage. Meanwhile, hesitation or over-reliance on protectionist tactics can result in lost markets and diminished influence. In this high-stakes drama of global trade, the stakes could not be higher. Stone fruits may seem small in the grand scheme of international relations, yet the deal embodies critical lessons about strategy, foresight, and economic positioning. China's patience, South Africa's initiative, and the United States' misstep combine to tell a story of opportunity and consequence. As the world watches, the ripples of this agreement will extend far beyond orchards and shipping containers, influencing trade patterns, diplomatic alliances, and economic priorities for years to come. Ultimately, the South Africa stone fruit deal with China underscores the power of decisive action, strategic partnerships, and market foresight. It highlights the fragility of dominance when policy decisions backfire and the enduring advantage of nations that anticipate shifts in the global landscape. Tariffs, intended as instruments of control, have instead produced an unexpected realignment, leaving the United States to ponder what might have been while China and South Africa capitalize on opportunity. The implications are clear. In an era of complex trade dynamics, the ability to act swiftly and strategically determines winners and losers. South Africa emerges as a champion of agricultural diplomacy, China as the patient and calculating victor in market influence, and the United States as a cautionary tale of how protectionist policies can produce unintended consequences. As stone fruits travel from South African orchards to Chinese markets, they carry with them a potent reminder of the stakes in modern trade, the shifting balance of power, and the enduring importance of strategic foresight in a rapidly evolving global economy. This deal is more than a commercial transaction. It is a signal to the world. Markets shift, alliances change, and economic influence can pivot in the blink of an eye. The story of South Africa, China, and the United States is a vivid illustration that in the arena of global trade, opportunities are seized by those who act decisively, while those who hesitate or miscalculate risk losing more than just market share. They risk relevance. As tariffs reshape trade, the world watches closely, aware that every policy decision carries ripple effects across continents. The United States President's attempt to assert control over markets has inadvertently handed a strategic advantage to China and bolstered South Africa's economic position. The consequences are profound, the lessons undeniable, and the story far from over. In the end, the South Africa stone fruit deal is a testament to the dramatic high-stakes nature of global trade, where foresight, strategy, and timely action define the victors, and the losers are left to reckon with the cost of miscalculation.